Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1-2 of October-November 2009. And this is of course A-level paper 1. With that being said, let's move on to question number 1. Okay, so here we have the equation of a curve is such that dy by dx is given by this. Given that the curve passes through this point, we have to find the equation of the curve. Now again, we understand that the equation of the curve is simply we have to find the value of y. Now we understand. To find y, we have to integrate dy by dx. So let's find that. So first thing first, let's rewrite this in a way we can solve this easily. That is 3. We can bring this up, that will be x power minus half minus x. That will be integration of 3x power minus half minus x with respect to dx. Solve one by one. 3 is only a multiple, will be outside. We have to add 1, that will become half and divide by half. Then minus, this will become x power 2 over 2, and plus c obviously for the constant of integration. Now let's solve. We can send this on top, that will become 6 minus the value of half x squared plus c. That makes sense, right? Because here we have to divide by half. So if you think about this, 3 divided by half is 6. That's why I have 6 here. That is simply root of x, and that is minus half x squared plus c. Now we have to find the value of c. We have to use the passing point. This is my x value and my y value. Replace back, you will have 6 here. That'll be 6 root 4 minus half 4 squared plus the value of c. So simplify. 6 times 2 minus half times 16 plus c. That will be 8. That will be 6 equal to 12 minus 8 plus c. So 12 minus 8, that should be 4. C will be 6 minus 4, that will be 2. So finally, the value of y, which is the equation of the curve, is equal to the same thing that we had before, which is over here. 6 root x minus half x squared plus 2. Okay, and that will be the equation of the curve. So let's move on to the next question. Find in terms of a non-zero k, non-zero constant k, so k cannot be 0, the first 4 terms in this expansion in ascending powers of x. Okay, so pretty easy. We have to find the first 4 terms. So first term is 8, combination 0, that should be k, and that will be x here. This is 0, because here we have 0, this will be 0, this will be 8. Then we have 8, choose 1, that will be k, and that will be x. Here we have 1, that will be 1, 8 minus 1, that will be 7. And then we have the third term, that should be 2 here, k here, and then here we have x, that is 2, 8 minus 2 will be 6. And finally, the fourth term, here we have 3, k and x, that should be 3 here, 8 minus 3 should be 5. Simplify, this will be 1, k power 8, that should be 1. This will be 8, k power 7, that should be x. What is 8? Choose 2. That should be 28. That should be k power 6, and that should be x squared. And then what is 8? Choose 3. That should be 56. That should be k power 5, and then x power 3. Now simplify. The first one will be simply k power 8. And here for this one we will have 8k power 7 x. And here you will have 28k power 6 x squared. And finally 56k power 5 x cubed for the first 4 terms of this expansion. Now for part 2, given that the coefficient of x squared and x power 3 cubed are equal, find the value of k. Pretty easy. Of x squared, this one and this one are equal. The coefficient of the value in front, which is this, should be equal to this value. Find the value of k. So simplify. This is 5 over here. So we can cancel out this. So that will be 1 remaining. So you have 28, k should be 56. So k should be 56 divided by 28 should be the value of 2. But let's check. That is indeed 2. So k equal to 2 for question part 2. Let's move on to the next question. A progression has a second term, this one, and the fourth term, this one. Okay. The first term, find the first term of the progression in each of the following cases. If the first case, it is arithmetic, pretty easy. If it is arithmetic, I know that my first term has to be a. I don't know. I know that the common difference has to be d. We have to find that yet. And the nth term which is the equation given to me, that is a plus n minus 1 times d. So we have to use this to find the values of a and d, but first we have to form two equations. For example, here the second term is when n equal to 2. That will be t2 has to be the value of 96. Replace back in the formula, you see, what can we have? A we don't know, and we know it is 2 minus 1 is 1, d, that should be 96. That is my first equation. Now same idea here, the fourth term, which is n equal to 4, t of 4 has to be 54. So a, 4 minus 1 is 3d equal to 54. That is my equation number 2. So let's solve. A here can be 96 minus d. Replace a back here, you will have 96 minus d plus 3d have to be 54. That will be 2d has to be 54 minus 96, that should be minus 42, right? And then d will have to be divided by 2 minus 21. That is my value of d. So we'll get back here to find the value of a. A will be 96 minus 21. That should be 117. Okay, so that will be my value of a. First one is 117. Now, if the progression is GP with a positive common ratio value of, so let's find that. Now, we understand that for GP we have different equations, right? Different formulas. We know that the nth term has to be a r power n minus 1. So we are given the same thing here, same kind of progression, I mean same thinking, right? N is equal to 2. We know that second term is equal to 96. So let's replace in the formula. A we don't know, r we don't know, but n we know is 2 minus 1, it is 1, has to be 96. That is my equation number 1. Now same steps, we know when the value of n is 4, the fourth term has to be 54. Same steps, a we don't know, r we don't know, and we know it is 4 minus 1 is 3, has to be 54. That is equation number 2. In this case, we can solve by, again, substitution, but easier way is take number 1, divide by number 2. Let's see what happens. You will have on one side, AR over A, this is equal to 96 over 54. So, this will cancel out. This will become square. So you will have this, what is this? 96 divided by 54. That should be, let me find, so okay, same thing. That should be what? 96 divided by 54 should be 17 over 9, which is equal to what? 1 times 9 is 9, 9 plus 7 is 16. That is 16 over 9. So here we have 1 over r square is equal to 16 over 9. We can cross multiply, you will have r square have to be 9 over 16. R has to be root of 9 over 16, right? And have to be 3 over 4. This is your answer for part 3 to find the common ratio. However, we need to find the first term, a, is equal to 96 divided by 3 over 4. As you can see here, a is equal to 9 divided by r. Let's see, what do we have? That should be 128. Okay, that will be part 2 of your answer here. That should be 128 as your first term, and this one is 117 as your first term. As you can see, step by step, solving equations simultaneously to find those values that we need to get your full marks. The function f is defined by this. Okay, great. Between this and this. This is the domain for your function, right? Now we have to find the range of f. Pretty easy. The only thing changing here is this. Now we understand that sine 2x can only be between the values of -1 and 1, right? So when the value here is -1, let's see, that will be 5 minus 3 times -1, that should be 8. When the value is 1, that should be the value of 2. So the range is between the value of 2 and 8. So the range we describe by f or by y. You can write y is between the value of 2 and 8, or you can write f is between the value of 2 and 8. Okay, that is part 1 of the question. Now part 2, we have to find the sketch the curve. So pretty easy. Sketch the curve, we have to obviously make a table of values. That is my x value, my y value. Here between this and this. Now because we have 2 here, we take 90 divided by 2, right? That will be 45 degrees, which is simply pi by 4. So I will choose interval of pi by 4 again. The reason why I do this is for me to find the value or an interval I can choose so my value of y can be exact. So again, how do I find this? I look at the value in front of x and take 90 degrees divided by that value to find the interval that I will use so that my y value will be exact. Now again, plus this, that will be pi by 2, 3 pi by 4, and then pi. Replace back in your main equation. Let's see what do we have. Here we have to use radians, so 5 minus 3. Sine of 2 times 0 will be 0. That should be 5. 5 minus 3. Sine of 2 times this, that should be pi over 2. That should be 2. And here we have 2 times this, that should be just pi. That'll be 5 again. And here we have 3 pi, 5 minus 3. And then what we have, minus 3 sine 2 times the value of 3 pi over 4. That should be 8. And finally here we have pi, 5 minus 3 sine of 2 pi. That is 5. Okay, so let's draw the curve, sketch. That is something like this. That is my y value, and that is my x-axis. Obviously, you will be using a ruler for that. That will be 0 here. That should be pi by 4, pi by 2, 3 pi by 4, and finally, that should be pi. This is my value of 2, for example. 5, let's say it's here, and 8, let's say it's somewhere over here. Again, this is something you have to use a ruler and use a pencil so that you can draw the smooth curve, right? Or sketch the smooth curve. The first point is 0, 5 should be here. Then this will be 2, should be here. 5 again, that should be here. And that should be 8. And that should be 5. Shape is something like this. Bam. And then curve here. And then something like this. And at the end, you have to label this as y equal to f of x. Always label your curve at the end. That is part 2 of the question. Now for part 3, state whether, with reason, if f has an inverse. Obviously, it does not have an inverse because if you think about this, if you were to draw a straight line, it has 2 points of intersection. So because of that, it is not a one-to-one function. It will not have an inverse. So not one-to-one function, and because of that does not have inverse. That's the reason why. And when they ask you why does it have an inverse, because it is a one-to-one function. Why does it not have an inverse? Because it is not a one-to-one function. This is the reason behind. Now let's move on to the next question. We have to prove the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. So step by step. So let's first expand this. You'll have sine x times this will become sine x minus sine square x cos x. Then this time this will become plus cos x minus sine x cos square x. So let's see how can we simplify and see what will that lead us to. For example, let's see, we can factorize, or we can just play with that for a bit. So here we need to find sine 3x plus cos power 3x. So let's see what is obvious here, or what can we play with so that we have the answer that we need. So I would say, because here, so again, this is cos x, not cos, right? So let's do something. Because here we have this and this, let's factorize this. You will have cos x, and here we have 1 minus sine square x. Here we have this. We have to plus sine x. Here you will have 1 minus cos square x. Right, and so now we realize something happens here. What is this and what is this? This is simply cos square x, and that is simply sine square x. That will become cos cube x plus sine cube x. This is shown as required. Same thing, right? That makes sense. Now for part 2, we have to solve this equation equal to this. Again, this is the same thing as this. We understand that this is equal to this, so we can take this and put this here. So part 2, that will be sine 3x plus cos power 3x is equal to 9 sine 3x. So simplify, send this over here, or this over here, or this over here, better. So that will be cos 3x is equal to 8 sine 3x. Now whenever you have sine and cos in the same equation, what do? We divide by cos. Cos 3x in this case, that will become, this will become 1 equal to 8. When sine divided by cos, you will have tan power 3x. So tan power 3x as a subject now will be 1 over 8. Now we understand tan, this will be cubic root 1 over 8. That will be 1 over 2. So tan x is equal to 1 over 2. Now we can see it is a positive value. So according to the quadrants ASTC, it will be in the first quadrant and in the third quadrant. This is simply your angle x, and that will be 180 plus x. So let's find that value. Tan inverse of half, that will be, and degrees here, that will be 26.6. And then here we have to find 180 plus the answer, that should be 206.6. So these are the two values of x for which we have this equation. Let's move on to the next question. So here we have a cube. As you can see, OABCDEFG is a cube in which the side is 6. 6, 6, 6. Everywhere is equal, 66. Okay. Now the unit vectors I, J, and K are in the same direction as OA, OD, and OC. As you can see, shown in the diagram, obviously. Now the point P is such that the ratio of AP and this will be 1 to 3. For example, if this was 3, the whole thing was 3, this is 1, this means this is 2. Hope that makes sense, right? According to the ratio given to you. Now the point Q is such that it is a midpoint of the F. Midpoint of the F, it is exactly in the middle. Okay, great. Now part 1, we have to find each of the vectors. First one, OQ. How would you find OQ? From O moving to Q. So step by step, we first move from O, move to D, and D move into Q, right? So OD will be what? Will be O to D, that is the length of 6, obviously, that will be the value of 6. Going up will be K. Now, we understand that DQ is half of what? Half of DF, right? Because it's the midpoint, Q is the midpoint. Now, how do you find DF? By looking at this shape, you can see DF can be found by, from D going to E, and E going to F, right? So that will be half. D going to E will be in this direction, that will be 6i. And then in this direction will be plus 6j. That will be 3i plus 3j. So finally, OQ will be 3i plus 3j plus 6k. That is OQ. Now PQ, where is PQ? P going to Q. So step by step, I can go from what? I can go P going to A, and then we can just follow the route. Honestly, there's so many ways we can go from P to Q. So let's try one of them. So P, we can go to, let's go to B. Why not? P going to B, and then B going to F, F going to Q. Okay, so we have this route we can use to go to Q. Now PB, we understand that AB is what? The value of AB, it's 6, right? The length is 6, that will be, the whole thing is in this direction, that will be 6j. Now this one is 2/3, so BP is 2/3 of 6j. Hope that makes sense, because AP is only 1/3, obviously the rest will be 2/3, right? And then BP will go in up by 6, that will be 6k, right? Up is k. And then FQ, we know that QF or DQ is this value. DQ is 3i plus 3j, but FQ will be in the opposite direction. That have to be minus 3i minus 3j. So simplify, that should be 4j plus 6k minus 3i minus 3j. That will give you minus 3i minus j, sorry, plus j plus 6k. That will be my vector PQ in terms of I, J, and K. That is part 1 of your question. Again, we have to use the diagram and try to move in the direction required to go to that point, from a point going to the other point. Now let's find the other ones. Here I can use this one. Find the angle OQP. So from this going to this and this going to this. So pretty easy. That will be QO times QP. I mean not times but scalar product and equal to QO QP cos of angle OQP. So we have to find the angle. So let's see what can we do. Now we know the value of OQ is this, so QO will be in the opposite direction. That will be -3, -3, and -6. And QP will be in the opposite direction. That should be 3, -1, -6. And the magnitude is pretty easy as well. That will be square 9 plus 9 plus 36. That will be root of 54. And this one as well, that will be 9 plus 1 plus 36. That will be 46. Cos of OQP. Now scalar product, -3 times 3 plus -3 times -1 plus 6 times -6. That should be 30. Divided by the value of root of 54, root of 46. Have to be cos of OQP. So 30 divided by root of 54 times root of 46. That will be this. Cos inverse of that will give you 52. So OQP have to be 52.99. Correct with one decimal place. That should be 53.0. And that will be your angle OQP. This is a question in relation to vectors. Let's move on to the next question. A piece of wire of length 50. So we know that the length, which is the perimeter used here, is 50, right? Is bent to form the perimeter of sector POQ of a circle. Just like I said, this would be R, and the length of arc is R theta. You have to know this. This is just a formula we have to know for circular measure. The radius is given to you by R, the angle is this. Okay? Part 1. Express this in terms of R, so pretty easy. We understand that the perimeter for this shape should be 50. So 50 has to be R plus R is 2R plus R theta. Now theta in terms of R should be R theta should be 50 minus 2R. Theta should be minus this over the value of R. This is part 1 of your question. Now we have to show the area is given by this. How do you find the area? Pretty easy. Given to you by the formula half R square theta. Half is half. R square we have seen could be R square. We don't care. Theta is given to you by 50 minus 2R over the value of R. Now simplify. This will cancel out. This will be 1. And here you will have half R times the value of 50 minus 2R. Divided by 2, that should be 25, and that should be 1. So you will have 25R minus R square. So finally, shown as required, the value of A, which is the area, will be 25R minus R square. Now part 2, given that R can vary, we have to find the stationary value of A and find its nature. So pretty easy to find the stationary value. What do? We take dA dr is equal to 0. So let's first find this. That will be 25 minus 2R has to be 0. R has to be 25 divided by 2. That should be 12.5. Now let's replace back in A to find that value. 25 times 1, 12.5, sorry, minus 12.5 square. Let's see what do we get. That should be 156.25. That will be centimeters square for the stationary value of the value of A. Right. Now we have to find its nature. To find the nature, we have to look at d2A by dr2. That will be what? So pretty easy. We have to differentiate this. That will be just minus 2. Because we know that dA by dr is 25 minus 2R. Now d2A by dr2 is just minus 2. Since it is a negative value, we realize that it is a maximum value. So that's all we need to do for question part 2 of this circular measure and also differentiation question. So let's move on to the next question. The function f is given to you by this, where x is not equal to 2.5, minus 2.5, sorry. Now part 1, we have to find f prime of x, explain why it is decreasing. So pretty easy, f prime is simply differentiate that value. Now we understand we can rewrite this as 3 times 2x plus 5 power minus 1. So first thing first, multiply by the power should be minus 3. 2x plus 5, minus 1, that should be minus 2, multiplied by dx of the inside, that should be 2. So you have minus 6 over 2x plus 5 power 2. Now, because we understand that the base here always be more than 0, and the value here is always going to be, because minus 6 divided by positive value, it will be always be so negative, right? If that makes sense. So because of that, it will always be a decreasing function. So like this, because of that, it will always be decreasing function. I hope that makes sense, because again, we understand this. When you square something, it will always be more than 0. Negative value divided by positive value, you will always get a negative value. That's why we have this, and this shows it is decreasing. Now part 2, we have to find this. Pretty easy. Let y equal to f of x, that is this, over 2x plus 5. Next, we have to make y or x become subject, so cross multiply. You will have 2xy plus 5y have to be 3. 2xy have to be 3 minus 5y. Right, so here you will have what? X have to be 3 minus 5y divided by 2y. So finally from this we realize f inverse, it is in terms of x, we have to write 3 minus 5x over 2x. That is part 2. Now for part 3, a curve have equation y equal to f of x. We have to find the volume obtained when the region bounded by the curve on the axis and this line is rotated by this about the x-axis. Again, about x-axis, what formula we have to use again? That should be volume has to be integration this y squared with respect to dx. Now we know that the value of y was given to you by 3 over 2x plus 5. From here y squared will be 9 over 2x this, right? So here we simplify. That should be 9 2x plus 5 minus 2. Get this, and then finally let's see what do we have. You have v 9 pi, and then we have to integrate the value here. You have 2x plus 5 power minus 2. So here we have to integrate this. How can we do this? Pretty easy. First thing first, let's find the limits. So we understand that it is bounded by the axis, which means, for example, your curve will be like this, and this is x equal to 2. So this is the region we are rotating. So this is the point 0. So the limits will be between 2 and 0. Okay. So let's see, what do we have here? First thing first, we have to increase the power by 1. That should be minus 1 divided by the power. Then divide by d by dx of this, that will be 2. And then here we have the limits of 2, 0. So let's find out. Simplify. First thing we have to simplify, that will become minus 1 over 2 times 2x plus 5, 2, 0. That should be. Let's take this one out, minus half outside. Why not? Then you will have 1 over 2x plus 5, value will be 2, 0. Minus half, and you have 1 over, so that should be 2 times 2 over this will be 9, minus 1 over 5. So 1 over 9 minus 1 over 5 should be this, times minus 1 over 2. That should be the value of 2 over 45. Okay, and this is your volume that you will get. We are forgetting something. Yes, we're forgetting this. Aha, you see, I was about to make a mistake. So take this, multiply by 9 pi. This will be 9, 1, that should be 5. So that'll be 2 over 5 pi. 2 divided by 5 times pi. 1.26. That should be units cubed for the volume of the shape that we get after rotation. Again, the main thing we have to know here is, if you want to rotate about the x-axis, we have to use this formula. If it was about the y-axis, you will use the other formula, which is this. Here we have y, we have to write x squared here. This is the other way around. Okay, that will be your question in regards to function. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So here we have a shape. So the diagram shows a rectangle ABCD. Okay, the point A is given to you by 0, 2, and the point C is 12, 14, right here. Now, the diagonal BD is in the same direction as the x-axis. Okay, same direction. Great to know. It is horizontal. Right. Now, part 1. Explain why the y value of D is 6. Why the y value of D is 6. So let's see. Why is that? So here we have x we don't know is 6. So how do we find D? Where's D? BD is a diagonal from this point. Let me see. This one. Okay, so here we have the point is, right? Now what are the properties of a let's say how you call this, a rectangle? We understand that these two sides are of equal length, and the direction have to be the same for those two as well. That's why we can use those factors. And also this information here that we have just saw is that this diagonal here is a horizontal line. It means that on this line the value of y have to be the same. So what can we use here? So there's many things. So let's also look at this. We understand that if you were to join the line AC, we'll also have a diagonal. Now again, where they meet over here is what? Is actually the midpoint of AC. So what is that point? That will be the point, pretty easy. This plus this divided by 2, that should be 6. And this plus this divided by 2 should be 6 as well. Because here, because of the midpoint of this, it is 6, you can write because the midpoint of AC was found to be 6 and 6. And we know the line BD is a horizontal line. Obviously the value here will be 6. That's the reason why. Now we have to here we have the x value of D is h. Okay, this is h that we don't know. What else? Express the gradients of AD and CD in terms of h. So where's AD? AD is this one. So how do you find gradient? We have to use the formula, obviously. So that will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That should be 8 over h, because here it is h, right, the x value. Now CD, same thing, y2 minus y1, so 14 minus 6 over 12 minus h. That should be 14 here minus 6 should be the value of 8 over 12 minus h. Now for part 3, find the x value of D and B. Okay, so why did they ask us to find the gradients? Because we understand they are at 90 degrees to each other, and what that happens, we can form an equation which is this over h multiplied by the other value have to give you minus 1, because when you multiply the gradient of perpendicular lines, the value have to be minus 1. So let's see what did we get. We have to have 64, then we can just cross multiply. That will become minus 1 minus h times 12 minus h. That will be 64 equal to minus 12h plus h square. Send everything to one side, you will have h square minus 12h minus 64 has to be 0. Factorize this times this. What can we use here? 64 is what? It is 64 divided by 4. That should be 16. So 16 times 4. 16 here times 4 here. To get minus 12, we have to have minus 16 plus 4. H can be 16 or h can be minus 4. But obviously, as you can see, h is on the positive x-axis, so this cannot be the value, so h can only be 16. Now here we have this already. We have to find the x value for B as well. So how would you find for B? So pretty simple, same kind of logic, I guess, because we have this point and we know this point as well, right? This is the distance. H was found to be 14. Distance from 6 go to 14 is what? 16, so 14 minus 6 will be 8. So from this, going back to this will be also 8. This is 8, this is 8. So going back will be 8 as well. 6 minus 8 should be the value of minus 2. Minus 2, 6. So B will be minus 2. Okay, so that's part 3. And then we have to find the area of the rectangle ABCD. So how would you find the area of rectangle? It's pretty easy. It's the width times the length. So you can use that to find that value. So step by step, So how can we find this? So we can use a few formulas if you want to. How would you find this length? CD. Well, let's see. How can we do this easier? I guess that's the only way, right? We have to find the length and then multiply them to find the area of a rectangle, because we know that area of rectangle is simply length times width. So we have to find the length and times the width. So the length here is this one. It is the side AD. A is given to you by 0 minus 2. D was found to be 14.6. So what is the magnitude of AD? We use our formula, which is this minus this will be 14 and then square. This minus this will be 8 and then square. That should be 14 square plus 8 square should be root of 260. So this is root of 260. Now for this one, same thing. We have the value of A, which is 0 minus 2, and B was minus 2.6. So again, length of AB, that will be root of this minus this will be minus 2 squared, that should be 4, plus this minus this will be 8, then square will be 64. 64 plus 4 will be root of 68. So finally for the area will be root of 260 times root of 68. Let's see, what do we get? Root of 68 times root of 260. That should be 132.966. So correct to 3SF will be 133 units square for the area of the rectangle. So after reviewing, I did realize I made a mistake over here. If you can see, I have H as 16, but I don't know why I wrote 14 here. So probably very silly mistake. So just correct this to be 16, and thus this is 6, right? 6 to go to 16 will be 10, which means this also have to be 10. From here to go to point B, so 6 minus 10 will be minus 4. The point B will be minus 4, 6, and not this length. So now from this point on, we have to correct everything else to find the area of the rectangle. So pretty easy. We place this back here. That will be 16. So first thing first, we will have 16 square. 16 square plus 8 square. That should be 330. 320. And for this one here, we just have to change this one to minus 4. That should be 4 square, right? So here we have this square should be 16 plus 64 should be root 80. So just replace those two values here, 320 and root 80. Let's see what we have. So root 320 times root of 80, that will give you the value of 160. So finally your area will be 160 units square instead of this, because of this silly mistake. So be careful and always double check your answers at the end. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The diagram shows the line 2y equal to x plus 5. So this is the line 2y equal to x plus 5. Now y equal to, this one is the curve, as we can see right here. Now, which intersect at the points A and B, bam and bam, as we can see clearly on the diagram. Now part 1, find the x value of A and B. So pretty easy, point of intersection we solve by using simultaneous equation. So here we have y, we can replace y in this. You have 2 times y is also x squared minus 4x plus 7. Has to be x plus 5, as you can see here. 2y, this. Expand, you will have 2x squared minus 8x plus 14 have to be x plus 5. 2x squared minus 9x plus 9 have to be 0. Now we can factorize and see what happens. That will be 2x, x, 9 is 3 times 3, right? To get minus 9 we have to have minus 6 minus 3. X will be 1.5, x will be the value of 3. This is 1.5 and this will be 3. Obviously, because 1.5 comes before 3, this will be the point A and this will be the point B. So the x value of A will be 1.5 and the x value of B will be 3. Again, if you guys don't know how to solve a quadratic equation, you can always use the formula to solve for the value of x. Now for part B, we have to find the equation of the tangent to the curve at B. So we have to find the equation of the tangent at B. Now we understand, to find the equation of tangent, which is a straight line, we must find the gradient of tangent, which is simply dy by dx. That is 2x minus 4. At the value of b, the x value is equal to 3. Replace, you will have 6 minus 4, that will be 2. So now we have a passing point b, which is 3. What is the y value? Replace back in your equation. So here we have 3 plus 5 is 8 divided by 2 should be 4. This is x and y value, and we have the gradient. We can find the equation pretty easily. So y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value should be the gradient. Then we cross multiply, you have y minus 4 has to be 2x minus 6. So y will be 2x minus 2. That is my equation of the tangent at the point B. Y equal to 2x minus 2. Again, I do apologize for the noise. I do not control that. It always happens, so I apologize for that. Now for part C, we have to find the acute angle in degrees correct to 1 dp between this tangent and the line there. So pretty easy. The tangent was found to be y equal to 2x minus 2, and the line 2y equal to this plus this. So we have to find the gradient for this line. We have to divide by 2, make this become subject. That will be half x plus 5 over 2. Now you can see for this tangent the gradient was 2, and for this line the gradient was half. So we have to use a gradient to find the angle. Angle will be tan inverse of the angle 2 minus tan inverse of the angle half. That will be modulus. So tan inverse of 2 minus tan inverse of 0.5. That should be 36.9 degrees for your answer. Okay, so this is how you find the angle between two lines by using the gradient. Now part 2, we have to find the set of values of k for which the line this does not intersect this. Pretty easy. If it does not intersect, it means it does not have no solution. It means b squared minus 4ac has to be less than 0. So that's the idea behind this question. Let's solve. Here we have y. We can replace y here. You have 2 times y minus 4x plus 7 equal to x plus k. That should be 2x squared minus 8x plus 14 have to be x plus k. Right? Now we can send everything to one side. You will have this, you will have this, minus x plus 14 minus k has to be 0. So 2x squared minus 9x plus 14 minus k have to be 0. Now this is my a value, my b value, and my c value. So replace back in this main equation. You have b squared is minus 9 squared, which is 81, minus 4 times a times c less than 0. That should be 81 minus the value of 8 times 14 minus k. So simplify. Let's expand. So 8 times 14, that should be 112. So 81 minus 112 plus 8k less than 0. So 8k has to be what? 81 minus 112. That will be minus 31. Send this over here, become 31. So k has to be 31 over 8. So this is the set of values for k. K has to be less than 31 over 8, for which it does not intersect the curve. Okay, that will be your question. Number 10, in relation to, I think there's a bit of tangents, intersecting, and then also quadratics at the end.